We've talked a lot about creating different shapes in this chapter. What we haven't talked about is working with shapes that you've already drawn and how to manipulate those and change their appearance. So in this movie, I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. First off, let's go and create a brand new document. And inside of the brand new document, what we're going to do is just draw out some shapes. So what I want you to do is I want you to draw yourself a rectangle of sorts. I want you to go over here and draw out a polygon of some kind. Doesn't matter really how big or how small or how many sides, just draw yourself out a polygon. And then let's also draw out a star, and I'm going to change what my star looks like a little bit here. Let's change it back to just a regular old 5-pointed star. And we'll put those out onto the artboard like so. So once you have your objects out on screen. And we're going to talk a lot about this when we talk about actually modifying things a little bit later on, like rotation and stuff like that. But I want to talk about just moving them around. You can just click and drag to move them around. You use the smart guides to make sure they align to things and all that good stuff. That's all pretty basic. But you can also change the size of them by resizing like this, just clicking and dragging down. You'll notice as I do that, though, that I have the ability to warp them. So what you want to do is constrain that by holding down the Shift key. You can also use certain tools to modify the shape of your shapes. So let's go ahead and come up here and let's grab the pen tool. Now I know the pen tool is kind of a scary tool, but we're not going to use this tool to do anything other than modify these shapes. So notice when I get to the edge of this, there's a change that happens to the pen tool. This little plus sign appears. But if I hold down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on the PC, I actually get this little control handle looking icon next to it. That means that I'm able to click and bend this object down. Just like this over here. Let's go the same way right over here. Click and bend. Go here, click and bend. And here, click and bend. Same kind of thing, right? I can do the same thing over here on this one. Just hold down my Option or Alt key while I'm doing it so I could bend out the bottom part. Something kind of like that. I could come over here and I could start bending out different portions of my star. I could do just about anything I want, and I don't have to know how to use the pen tool. This used to be a square, this used to be a pentagon, and this used to be a star, but now they look like completely different shapes that I had used, some form of curve tool or something like that to create. And I didn't have to do anything really other than holding down the Option or Alt key. So there's all these little things that you can do to modify shapes inside of Illustrator. You just have to know those little secrets in order to do that. So as you start to draw out basic shapes, if you're looking to create more complex artwork, try out some of these little manipulation methods that I'm showing you throughout the course. And I'll show you a few more as we get more in depth. But for right now, just remember that pen tool trick where you can just come out here, go to the edge of a path, hold down the Option or Alt key, and bend it. That is a very simple way to modify a path without having to know a whole lot about what's being done there. There's several things that are happening there. Control handles are moving, you're creating different Bezier curves, you're doing lots of different things to these shapes, but you don't know it. All you're doing in your mind is holding down the Option key and clicking and dragging something around. It's pretty simple, but it can be really, really effective. We've talked a lot about creating different shapes in this chapter. What we haven't talked about is working with shapes that you've already drawn and how to manipulate those and change their appearance. So in this movie, I'm going to give you some tips on how to